Welcome to the Angels, Magic and Joy podcast. This podcast is for those who seek answers from above, guidance and magical inspiration.
Immerse yourself in the realms of magic, angels, fairies, unicorns, dragons, and so much more. I'm Kirsty Jandrell, and I'm delighted to be here with you today.
And I am Kate Lachman.
Hello, welcome everybody, and welcome to another of the Angels, Magic and Joy podcast. And today, Kate and I are so excited because we have a very, very special guest. We have the beautiful Astara Jane Ashley, who is going to be talking to us about harnessing the elements and crafting magical realms in writing. So before I spoil the whole thing and tell you exactly what she's going to talk about, I would love to pass over to you, Astara, so that you could expand to our listeners a little bit about what you do, the many things that you do, and what you're all about. And thank you for being here. We're so excited.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Kirsty and Kate. I'm so happy to be here and sharing this magical space with you both. So I call myself a book midwife. I'm a publisher of a boutique publishing company called Flower of Life Press. And I work primarily with women to share their sacred stories. And I do work with men and, all people, but generally it's women who have a mission and a message and a desire to find their voice and share their story because of the healing that can happen for us as the writer / storyteller, and also for the reader. The vibration of our stories can reach out into the ethers and really affect the field and offer hope and community for other people who are maybe not sure how to discover who they are, their voice, and maybe have shame and fear attached to their life story, which all of us do, really, in a lot of ways. So that's my mission. And I'm also a psychotherapist, an art therapist, and a mom. I've got 3 grown daughters, and I live in North Carolina in the US, and I love nature, and I do feel my relationship with the fairy realms and with nature is really a huge catalyst for my own creativity. And it's a piece that I always want to bring in for our writers and creators too.
Oh, I absolutely love that, Astara. So lovely to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. I love that you mentioned fairy realms, because this is something that combines, I think, 3 of us here very strongly.
Yeah.
So you're particularly interested in how writing can help us to harness the elements. Could you speak a little bit more about that, and also how writing can help weave that magic, fairy realms, fairy dimensions into the craft?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the first ways that I was able to get, besides my divorce, one of the first ways that I was able to crack into my heart space after a lifetime of, living from the neck up and in my mind and not having that awakening yet, was through nature. And, I used to feel like I had no green thumb. I had no connection to nature, really. I was so mind oriented. And when I began to use essential oils, actually, was a key that unlocked a lot of the codes for me around belonging to the earth and feeling connected, and allowing the plants and the herbs and the natural elements to weave their way into my system. And it began to help me in so many ways, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And they just brought joy and a higher vibration into my day. And I found myself going outside more and beginning to connect with trees, connect with the foliage, connect with the earth herself. And so as I became more attuned to the divine feminine energies and the moon phases and my own inner knowing and beginning to discover who I was and trust myself in that way, it all opened up. It all opened up, and I began to, go for walks, and I would find rings of mushrooms in perfect circles, the red mushrooms with the white dots, perfect rings. And and every time I see a tree or see a little beautiful naturescape, I feel like, oh, there's a fairy village, or there's magic here. The codes are in nature, and that's where the magic is for me. And that's what brought me into my soul and into my heart. In fact, there was one time when I was driving somewhere and I was in a rush and I was tangled up in my cords and trying to get my GPS working. I drove into a tree about a block from my house. And when I drove into that tree by mistake, the tree was dead, and it fell on my car and it totaled my car. And I was okay. Thank goodness I was okay. I was able to get out of the car, and there was a nest of baby birds that had been in that tree that was now lying on the ground dead. And it was heartbreaking. And I just felt like such a fool because I was so close to my house. And how did this happen? I could have driven off the cliff and into the river. But when that happened, I heard the tree say to me, "Stop, just stop." And I knew that I was going to teach this class that I didn't really want to go to. I was rushing, and the tree forced me to stop and reassess. And it was such a message for me about the wisdom of the codes in nature, in trees especially, how they can be so grounded and rooted and beautiful and flexible, and be able to go through the seasons of their life with so much grace. And here this tree was just telling me to stop. And so that really changed everything, because I was able to listen and hear that message. Stop, get still, begin to feel your life instead of racing through it on your way to do something that you don't even want to do. And so that was a big shift for me in terms of being able to listen and hear the magic in nature, hear the voices of the fairies and the mushrooms and the different elementals. And also I've had some experiences with Archangel Michael as well. And through the use of oracle cards, I've developed a relationship with spiritual beings like angels and fairies. And I really trust that it's here for us, and that we can live live together and learn from those realms. And so for writing, which was your original question, for writing, I think nature is a huge key to unlock those portals of opening our flow, of being that tree, getting rooted and grounded and emptying out all the mind clutter, and being willing to say to life and to the divine, I'm here as a vessel. What wants to be written through me? What wants to come in so that my mind can get out of the way and not have to control everything? And that's when the magic happens. And it's nature that really allows me to do that. And so that's what I encourage my writers to do, is go for a walk, get outside, activate your senses, because especially in writing, sensory language is really important. We want the reader to feel what we're sharing in the story. We want them to drop into that moment with us and be that person experiencing that story, so that they can feel it and be transformed by it. So activating our senses is what happens for me in nature, and using the elements: water, air, fire, ether, earth. So a lot of ritual to connect with the elements and allow them to speak through us in our writing, and support us as like co-authors.
Wow. I could listen to you all day, Astara. That was gorgeous.
It's so
Thank you.
interesting how you're saying that. It reminds me of my friend. She had channeled plants, and it's interesting because she's dyslexic. Like, she can't create a sentence, but when she was channeling it, she just got into the state of channeling, and she did not make even one mistake. And everybody were like, "How did you even write that?" She says, "I didn't. The plants written it. It was so
Yes.
beautiful. The book is so beautiful, and there were not even one mistake to correct it."
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking for a book that I have here. And now I don't see where I put it, but it's called Meditating with Plants. And it's this woman, a local woman to me here, who is an herbalist and has written a book about it. Deeper into the garden is what it's called.
Beautiful.
And so, yeah, so flowers and roses and plants and trees and leaves and the earth herself, the dirt, the fecundity of the earth, and being willing to be supported by the earth. In fact, I mean, I will literally go and lay down on the earth, like face plant, spread eagle, and just feel myself being held by her as my mother, as my big mama,
Yeah.
And I just feel the safety that she offers. And so that helps me get through any kinds of blocks or mental chaos around what my plan is for writing, and allows me to open up. And I do believe that structure is important, and nature provides us those codes too, right? If we look at a river, we have the waters, the feminine waters, and we also have the structure of the masculine banks of the river. And without those banks, the water would flood and just get too fluid, and we can get lost in that energy. And so we need some structure. So it's all there. The structure and the fluidity of the masculine and feminine, and that divine union of both energies in nature and in everything, in us. Because we are part of nature. We are an animal on this planet, just like other animals. Like, we inherently know how to thrive and how to feed ourselves and when to sleep. And, we have to do a little bit more work now as humans to align our circadian rhythms to nature and to allow ourselves to be in union with nature, since technology has taken over and we're inside so much of the time. But I really feel it's a key for writing. And so I feel like cultivating a writing practice is the most important way to get started. That it doesn't have to be a book, like, it can just be journaling. It can just be playing with the process of discovery. It's like curiosity about it, because a lot of women especially feel like, oh, I can't write. I'm a terrible writer. The woman that you mentioned, Kate, who's dyslexic, right? There's these stories, these narratives that are imprinted on us. So we have to really give ourselves a chance to release those beliefs so that we can open up to the magic, because we don't know it until we can access it.
So much in there. Thank you so much, Astara. And I love the idea of that, it's that idea of trust, isn't it? And that interconnectivity between the unity between all of us, and the nature. As you say, we're a part of that, and to be able to use the body, get out of the mind, and actually nourish your writing literally from the energies of the earth and the the relationships we have with the natural world. It's so beautiful, and such a refreshing way to look at the process of writing. I just love that. Gosh, thank you for describing that.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, our education system has trained us to doubt ourselves and to do it in a certain way, and to get, validation in a certain way. And so this work, this approach to being fully self-expressed, is about letting go of all of that, not needing external validation. Sourcing it from within, sourcing that safety, sourcing that trust, all of it from within and from nature herself, who is us, who's holding us here. And And then, it's interesting because when you write or when you create something like an oracle card deck, or you write a book, or even sending an email, there is somebody on the other end. So there is a relationship that we need to consider when we're writing for somebody else, because we do have an intention or a desire for it to, affect them in a certain way. So I think it's good to set an intention for the reader and to write for them, but also to not let that get in the way of your own self-expression, because otherwise then it can become kind of stifled if it's too performative. So a great way to start is to just have like a morning page practice, where when you wake up in the morning, it's about grabbing a pencil or a pen longhand and writing 3 pages without stopping, no matter what it is. Just automatic writing to kind of clear out the inner critic first thing in the day, and not needing to read it, not needing to show it to anybody, and just letting that be a place to clear, to just clear the junk, so that there's some openness for the rest of the day to be able to receive the messages from nature and from the divine around what we're delivering, what we're here to transmit.
Love that. So almost like using that to empty out the monkey mind, get that clear, so that you're then that clear vessel, so that you can receive, and as you say, fill me, I am the channel. And wow.
Most of us will meet our inner critic first thing in the morning. In that way, we'll see that, we'll be like, oh, I'm already judging myself and I've just rolled out of bed, right?
I'm brushing my teeth. Oh
yeah. And so Julia Cameron is the author who shares about this practice of morning pages in her book The Artist's Way. And so I just find it so healing and beautiful way to connect with spirit and to clear out the crap, so that we can start our day with that level of clear intention. It's like, I think of it like a pond, and the dirt and the muck is all floating around in the pond. We just have to like let the sediment settle, and then we can see, and we have a like more vast vision. So that practice and just doing that alone will change your life.
Thank you. This is so rich. Can I ask you a story? We'll talk about oracle cards, if we may, in a little while as well. But you touched upon the element of magic. Of course, it's in our the title of our podcast, and we're very excited about the concept. And you talk about how you can open yourself to that, for that magic to happen. So could you talk to us a little bit about how, for writers, they can weave magic into their stories, so that they can explore themes of imagination, identity, and that sort of interplay between the mundane and the extraordinary, the magical, and how that kind of fits in with the whole picture?
Okay, now I'm looking for another book I want to show you. Where is it?
Oh,
Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is a really good example. It's called Return to the Temple. It's fiction, and it's part of a series called the Divine Oracle series. It's written by an author named Amanda Romania. And the art, you can see, this is a priestess in Glastonbury, and the tour is up here. Here. And so this book weaves so much magic into the story. The author is an Akashic Records librarian. So her character development is so beautiful, and it goes back and forth in time. The protagonist, this character, Anna is her name. She starts off in present time, and then she goes back into her past lives. And in her past lives, she's weaving these relationships together with other priestesses who show up in present day. So it's like the magic is weaving all of this spiral notion of time, getting us out of the linear time model and into past lives, and how we are here for a purpose, and how we have certain tasks and promises that we've made to ourselves and to the universe. And so I just love this kind of fiction. That does weave in a lot of magic, right? The other way of weaving magic in is to just allow ourselves to cultivate our inner power around our own magic through ritual. So that's why I encourage my authors to create a book altar. If you're writing a book, create an altar to that book Deva, that book's spirit. It's its own being. And when we release the book and publish the book, it's like having a baby and be like, okay, now this being is going to have its own journey, and it's going to land in the hands of the people who want a relationship with that being. It'll resonate with those people. It will find them. Yes, we need to take action as the author, as the messenger. So it includes all of that, but also just the trust that there is magic happening in the energy of the book itself that is separate from who we are. And when we trust that, it's incredible. So for instance, I worked on a book, and before we even went public with the book and released it, it was before we even announced it, it went bestseller on Amazon. We weren't done. It was a pre-sale thing, and it went bestseller instantly. And we weren't even done writing the book. And it's because of that intention. And it was Kalila's book. It was called The Sacred Call of the Ancient Priestess. And so, yes, it had to do with her community and her author platform, but it also was I'd never seen anything like it. And so that really allowed me to trust that the magic is, when you trust in that and when you allow your own magic to activate the process through ritual, maybe it's the altar, creating like a prayer before you sit down to write, doing a meditation practice, or lighting a candle, using some oils, whatever your thing is to bring yourself into that devotional state will amplify the success of the writing and of the book in general. And so I really think that the magic starts here first. And that with that intention, then it infuses into the writing. The vibration of the work is elevated, and people can feel it. They know when they look at the cover, if it was a conscious artist versus not. They know, they feel that. So the more consciousness we can bring to our creative process is going to amplify out into the field and bring beautiful experiences to people. And some people will hate it. And that's okay, right? Because they don't resonate with it, and we're not meant for everybody. And so it doesn't matter. That piece doesn't matter. We just trust it, you know. Like I remember when my first daughter was born, I didn't want to hand her over to my mother-in-law. I was just like, no, she's mine, you know, but then I knew I had to release her. I'm like, no, she's not mine. I don't own her. She has relationships with so many other people now she gets to build. So I had to let her go. And she was like an hour old. And it was heartbreaking, but also we have to do the same with our books and with our writing, with our emails, with our messages, and just trust it. And it's okay if people hate it. And it's okay if people love it. The universe doesn't judge any of that. So why should we?
Such wisdom. And that description of the energy that you put in, and that intention and the magic that you weave through the ritual, and the harnessing the beauty of your soul's intention to allow this message to pull through. That's just gorgeous. Oh, thank you. Right, I'm definitely reading my book.
Yeah, it can be about anything. It could be about the weather. It could be about a spiritual experience. It could be something factual and concrete, but the intention is that thread of devotion to life. It's our consciousness and our willingness to be in that vibe of love and of letting that fuel all of it. And that's why the morning pages are great, because then we can clear out any of the self-doubt, the inner critic voices, all the crap that gets built up over the course of a day, the day before, you know, dream time, whatever it is. So It's a process of emptying and receiving, which is divine feminine wisdom, right? And so that's what's weaving through everything, is this divine feminine wisdom that has been lost for eons, that we've now refound again and want to be able to utilize in our development and in how we show up in the world, and what our purpose is, and how we want to make an impact.
I absolutely love that, Astara. It reminds me when we started with Kirsty and we were thinking of the title for our podcast. And we started with our head because we wanted it to be so perfect and just the way it should be. And we're thinking maybe that title, maybe that name, maybe that. And then at one point we were like, Kirsty, we're both channels. Like, why don't we just connect with the spirit of this podcast? We're like, yeah, actually, we should have done that first thing. And we just sat together and it just came and it just showed itself and revealed its name. So it was so beautiful. Astara, I'm wondering, as a publisher, you've published all sorts of books, from historical novels to anthologies, and also oracle cards, which we're both, all of us, I suppose, very interested. Is there a common theme between all of those publications? There's something that's connecting it all?
Yes. And the first thing that came into my mind, into my awareness when you asked me that question, is the flower of life. And this is the flower of life, right? This is the symbol. It's the name of my company. And it is the universal imprint of unity and of life. And so the reason I say it's the flower of life that weaves all of this together is because I see it as the geometry, as us, as, in sisterhood, like linking arms and expanding infinitely out. And to be able to do it together in sisterhood, to find our voices, to heal our trauma, to find the courage to speak truth, no matter what people think or what happens, to hold that space of non-judgment for self is what attracts people. And people will come to me and they'll say, I just saw your logo and I knew we had to work together. So it's that imprint. And I'm so grateful for it because my husband channeled it for me about 15 years ago, the brand Flower of Life Press. I was like, okay, I didn't even, have anything to do with it. He gave it to me. And without even knowing really much about it, I put it out there into the world. And that's when my life began to come together. Like all the pieces began to fit, the different skills, my background, my desires, my life experience. That's when it began to feel like I was the flower of life. And I'm wearing this kimono right now that has the flower of life on it too. So I realized for this podcast, I've just like adorned myself with the flower of life, which I don't normally do. But that's what it is. It's this imprint of this geometry. It's sacred. You can find it in ancient sites. And so there's something about it that really shows us what's possible in terms of our connection and our expansion and lack of limitation. So I think that's it. And then I just try to hold that vibration of that imprint as much as I can in my own life. And then just trust that it will resonate with people and people will find me and want to work with me, as opposed to working with a different person who might be more of a vendor kind of relationship. Like I don't really go for the transactional so much as I want it to be long-term, lifelong relationships with the authors that I work with. And that's what it's become. So it's been really rewarding. And also the other thread would be spirituality, consciousness, a desire to speak truth and to share your message. So people who come to me, they know, they hear the calling and they want to heed the call, but they may have some blocks or some voices or something that may scare them. And all of us do. I mean, I'm still working on my book and it's been a long time. It's not done. So I'm just like everybody else when it comes to that. But but our intention is for it to be a magical experience and that it transforms us and the reader.
Thank you, Astara. That's beautiful. And you know, that I'm fortunate to have known you as a friend, but as my publisher as well, because I was fortunate enough to be published by you in a beautiful anthology. And it's knowing you as I do, and knowing the relationships that you have with your authoresses. That's so true. It's one of reciprocity and trust and mutual support, as you say, not a transactional thing. And I know there's so much love and respect for you, and you embody that essence of that beautiful piece of sacred geometry. So yeah, you're embodying it. So I just absolutely love that you're bringing that out and continuing to bring that out into the publishing world, because it's so needed. So
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And talking about sort of writing, and you were talking about your book not being yet ready. I'm sure it will be when in divine timing, right? When it's
Yeah.
the time.
If I can empty myself out enough to get there.
But going back to sort of thinking that for me, I was able to share through you. I never thought of myself as a writer until you were sort of able to sort of draw that out, and in a really easeful way. And I was thinking about writing. For me, it was very freeing. It helped me to speak about a very difficult part in my life, losing my mum and stepdad, which actually helped me process the grief attached. I still put that process of writing that short story into, attributed to that process, and helping me to connect with that. And my intention through that was yes, very much a personal one, but also to try and help others in a similar situation. So I wanted to thank you for that, and also to sort of think about it. It made me think about writing as this portal to freedom, really, and freedom of self-expression, and being able to explore themes that perhaps you would go unearthed, so to speak, otherwise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wondered if you could sort of, expand on that, really, because I know that the themes that women in particular bring to their writing through you are often very personal, and can be that sort of freedom of self-expression, really, in magic.
Thank you for that. That's a great question. When I went through my divorce in 2009, I actually had left my husband because I fell in love with somebody else. And it was my boss at work, Scott, who's now my husband, who channeled the Flower of Life grant, right? And so it was a mess. I had 3 little girls. I'd been married for 9 years. I wasn't expecting it. I'd gone back to work because I was looking to find my power again. We'd been fighting about money, and we were young. We were really young. This was 20 years ago. And so when I decided to leave, I didn't know yet what was in store, but I knew that it felt like my soul had just grabbed my hand and was dragging me down the road as fast as possible, and I was hanging on for dear life. And I felt like I had road rash, all over me. But I just felt this like desire to be alone and to learn about who I was, and so I burned everything down. And I didn't want it, but it happened, and I said yes to it, and all of it. And it was a mess, and it's taken a long time to forgive myself and to be honest, like to live an honest life, because somehow that had turned me into a liar, and I didn't really know why or how, or, and to cultivate relationships that are authentic, that are intimate, that are honest, that are real, even if it's painful. And so a few years back, I knew I was still hanging on to some guilt and shame, a lot of shame. And because I feel like my whole community just like shunned me. And I sort of went underground for a while. I didn't really have community, or I focused on my work a lot and on my own inner well-being. And I was still feeling a lot of shame and grief and cords attached, you know, to my ex, and wanting him to be my friend, but he didn't want to. And just the grief of like my family changing, of us as parents not having a relationship for our daughters to see, even though they now had he and his new wife and me and my new husband, so like loving parents. Just felt a lot of grief. And so I decided I was going to come out with it, and I was going to just go onto a Facebook group, and I was going to tell my story, the real deal, that I had an affair, you know. And when I did that, unfortunately, it turned out to not be a private group. It was a public space. And it was the divine initiating me into loving myself through that, because when my ex saw it, and when his mom, my ex-mother-in-law, saw it, and the kids saw it, I had to face a lot of that backlash. It really re-traumatized my family in a big way. And I just felt myself holding my ground and just being like, yep, that's what happened. And I love myself anyway. And I'm sorry. And I see the gift of that choice. I see now on the other side, 20 years later, I can see the positive outcome, the grace, the joy, you know, that we've all morphed into over time. But clearing that shame publicly, not everybody's going to do this, and I don't recommend it for everybody. And it was a happy mistake for me, but it was like, oh my God, what did I just do? But really, that was the experience of learning what it feels like to be me and love myself anyway, no matter what's coming at me, and to be real with my daughters about my choices, and to be just really transparent. And so I think that vulnerability, which is what you showed in your writing too, Kirsty, that vulnerability of like what really is true, is what cleared the last of the shame demons for me, because we are all carrying some of that, and we don't have to. We can love ourselves, forgive ourselves, move on, make different choices. Like, I have to say now, my life is a very honest life, and it's not everybody likes that, but it's the only way I can do it. And so that's why I always invite people to go deeper than you think you can in terms of your vulnerability and your sharing. And if it's too much, and if your nervous system is out of whack, then we're going to pull it back, and because protection and safety is number one. And I'm going to invite you to challenge yourself, because that's where the transmutation of that shame happens. To not lie to ourselves anymore about what's real, you know, about our life, our experiences, our choices. The shadow. The shadow can be a messenger, and the shadow is a teacher. And I have done a lot of shadow work, and I'm so grateful.
Wow, Astara, thank you so much for sharing that. It's just, I feel so much power going through it, passing through. You're channeling so much power right now, because this is it. I suppose this is it. Like, the more truth we face, and like you say, our shadow, that's where the biggest power is at the end of the day. The biggest fear, that's where the power is. I've noticed that in my practice as well, that the more fear I was facing, the same, that's where and then at the end of the day, nothing happened. And I suppose it's interesting how it all connects with our journey and our mission, that, let's say, because you had those experiences, you're able now to hold space for all of those that wish to share, that maybe they might not have, like, if they would be by themselves, they wouldn't have that courage. That because you went through that, it's just so beautiful. You are able to hold that space because you have that power, because you've been there. It's just so beautiful. I'm just so touched by what you said. I'm incredibly touched. coming back to the magic, because there are a few bits that I'm really interested and because we love with Kirsty here discovering, especially talking through experiences. Is there any, you've said already about the interesting meeting with that tree on your way. That was certainly, definitely very, very magical. Did you have any other experiences that you would like to share? Because we always see that when we share more of those real life magic experiences, it opens up other people's consciousness.
Yes.
Would you like to
Yes.
share, please? Would you like to share if you
Yes.
had any
Yes.
magical experiences? Bring it all.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I wish that I could just go for a walk and encounter, you know, a goddess and have her say something to me and have that like experience of the being like showing up. It doesn't necessarily happen like that for me. It's a process of invoking it and allowing myself to open up to the possibility of magic. And the way it shows up now over time, over these many years of building that trust, is through like instant manifestation. So for instance, the other day, my husband and I we're in ranch country here in North Carolina. So we were driving out to this place to pick up a desk that a friend of my sister's was getting rid of. So I went out there to claim the desk. We drove out there and it was like 45 minutes away. And I thought, this is a long way to drive to pick up a desk for free. But we made it. And along the way, I said to him, I really feel like I want to have a relationship with a horse. I've never had a relationship with a horse. I've ridden horses, but I don't really know much about them. But I know they're telepathic. I know they're therapeutic. I know they're beautiful beings. They're like big dogs. I think I want to have a relationship with a horse. When we pulled into the place to get the desk, it was an equine therapy farm. I opened up my door, I stepped out, and this beautiful horse was there, along with a little mini horse, like those little tiny ones. Not a baby, but, you know, like some mini horse. And the two of them were right there looking at me. And I went over and I just had this experience with them that it was so beautiful. And I thought, here's my relationship with the horse that I just asked for. And when we connected with the woman who runs this farm for equine therapy, I thought, this is a place I could volunteer. I can come here. I can volunteer and be with these horses and experience that. And so there it is. That's what I wanted, and there it was. And it happens to me all the time. I even went to the gas station. I filled up my gas tank. And this was a couple of years ago. I think I put like $15 worth of gas in my gas tank. And as I was driving away, I saw money, cash, on the ground floating by. I pulled over and stepped out. I wasn't on the street yet. Pulled $5. Oh, okay. Nobody was there in the gas station. So it hadn't just been lost. So I thought, oh, thank you, universe. And then as I was getting in my car, I saw another one, another $5 bill, and then a third. It was $15 floating by that I was able to, the universe just paid me back for the gas I just put in my car. So that's the magic. Like, it seems so random, but it's not random, because it's all working it's working underneath our thinking, our brain. And it's the field of receptivity, of being able to open up to receive what the universe is delivering. And I can claim a desire, like my desire was to have more in-person community and to move here, to be near my family. It's very hard to find a little cottage in this town. We found the cottage. It was a friend of a friend. No security deposit, no credit check, no nothing. Just boom, done deal. There it is. And now we have the most perfect little cottage here where I have community. I can walk to my mom's house. So that's the magic, I think, of manifestation. And in terms of beings, magic shows up for me when I invoke the relationship. If I pray to Mary Magdalene, if I pray to Archangel Michael, if I invite Archangel Michael in, oh, he shows up. So I feel like the magic and the beings are there. It's just that for me, I have to intentionally say, I'm going to see you now. I'm going to hear you now. I'm going to invoke you. I'm going to connect. I'm going to make the effort to find it, because what you look for, you find. Because we're manifesting as we go. So I think that's how magic shows up for me. And that's why the elements are really helpful, because then it helps me to open up to receive the beauty of that wisdom, whatever it shows up as. A lot of times it's people, it's relationships, it's opportunities, it's new clients, it's money, it's the basic needs, it's all of that.
Thank you. You are the creatrix, Astara. But what gorgeous examples, and it's just such beautiful validation of that, setting intention, as you say, stepping into that frequency of receptivity and high vibration, getting out of your ego's way and just letting it flow. My goodness. Thank you so much for sharing those. So inspirational. Oh,
thank you.
Amazing. And I'm so glad that you've on a personal level, you've been able to connect with that, and it's enriched your life, and hopefully our listeners will gain some inspiration from that. I'm sure they will. So we could talk for weeks. However, I'm aware of the time. But before we close, I'd love to just talk to you a little bit about Oracle decks, because as Kate mentioned, it's one of the things that you publish, and we're talking about all things magical and connecting with that intuition and that magic of manifestation and connection to the higher realms. So can you tell us how people can sort of connect with you through that medium? Because I'm very honored to be creating my first Oracle deck through you at the moment, which is such a beautiful process. So thank you.
Thank you.
But it's something that you run continually, isn't it?
Yes. I decided to branch off of books and invite people to create Oracle card decks, because I know how powerful they are and how they can activate our intuition, and how what I was personally craving was more of a hands-on experience with the art and with the imagery. And because that was my first portal into my soul, was making art. I went to art school, college, and whatnot. So I was missing that in my own life. And so I was playing with all my decks, and I just love the channeled wisdom in these Oracle decks and in tarot. I don't really know tarot that well, but some people create their tarot decks and some people create Oracle card decks. You can go either way, but it's a different journey than just writing a book, because the imagery plays such a huge role, the vibration of that. And depending on how you source your imagery, whether it's through Canva or through your own art or through photographs or a combination of all of that, it's another way of expressing ourselves, and then opening up to receive the channeled messages and the wisdom around the deck, around the theme of your deck. It's really fun. So I started a group called the Oracle Deck Creation Circle, and I have two groups, one of 8 people and one of 5 people right now. And inside of those groups, we're meeting, and I'm guiding them in creating their deck. And it's so fun, because everybody has a different sort of intention or different theme or topic, but yet there's that underlying thread through all of the work, where we're really allowing our intuition to guide us in the process of creating the deck, which will then guide the user in opening up their intuition and trusting their knowing. So it's really fun. I love it. And so that's just an extra thing that I'm doing alongside of publishing books is creating this category of oracle card decks, an imprint. So like a category of products that we publish also. And you can go to, if you want to learn more about it, you can go to oracledeckcreationcircle.com. And I'll be opening that up again in the spring for a new round of creators, if that's of interest.
Thank you. Well, I can highly, highly, highly recommend it. I've never been involved in such a fun project. I have to say, it's like being a child again. It's like, oh my goodness, it's just.
That's the thing. I thought I want this to be almost like a knitting circle, you know, or like in olden times when women would come together and quilt, like a quilting group or some kind of circle where we can create together and be in sisterhood and have it be fun. That was my main goal. This is going to be fun. And I'm creating my deck too, along with everybody else. So that was part of it. I'm doing this for me, and who wants to do it with me? So I love that approach I thought, gosh, my life is so amazing. I get to just make art all day and read amazing stories.
And that's so powerful, isn't it? Coming to create from that place of joy and fun. And you know, this is the intersection between the magic. And I have to just give a nod to Kate, because Kate is actually an artist as well, and she's created a beautiful oracle deck using her own arts, and it's beautiful. So
I must get my hands on your deck, Kate.
So shout out to both of you. But yeah, I think I think we're living in such times, aren't we, where, you know, so many of us are becoming so open to the beautiful messages that are coming through from so many different realms and beings and elements and you know, elementals and angels. And so it's to be able to sort of almost amplify that opportunity by creating these circles, it's just so beautiful. So grateful you're doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, well, we've talked about so much, and you've been such an inspiration. Thank you so much for joining us.
Such a pleasure.
What's apart from the Oracle Creation Circle, is there another way that people can sort of contact you that's really easy for them to sort of
you can visit my site, which is floweroflifepress.com. You can find me on Facebook under Astara Jane Ashley, and I'm on Instagram a little bit less, but I'm working on that, and that's under Flower of Life Press. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. So if you have questions, if anybody has any ideas or questions, just send me an email. You can reach me at support@floweroflifepress.com. And I love to hear from people and connect personally and cultivate that intimacy with people who are creators and who hear the calling.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today, Astara. It's been magical.
Yes.
Thank you both. I really appreciate it.
Is there any, you've mentioned before we started, is there any goodie that we can get from you? Because I'm already thinking of it myself. So I'm like, oh, I want to see.
Yes, absolutely. So there's a guidebook that I wrote called Write Your Way to Inner Bliss. And it's a guidebook with just some simple steps to cultivating a devotional writing practice. So it's simple, and there's tools in this guidebook for the steps to take to start this process. So that's available as a freebie for sure. And there is a link for that, which I think will go into your show notes. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Astara. I'm probably the first one who's going to click on that now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Astara and Kirsty. Thank you so much for the day off. I feel like I'm going to listen to this podcast a few times to really dive in again into all what you said. I feel like there's so much wisdom from the heart as well, and so much of your own experience. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for sharing, Astara.
Thanks, sisters.
Thank you, loves. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Oh, and thanks for listening. Bye.